So developmental psychology finds its interest in researching and finding out how to better help people to mature through the course of their life, both emotionally and physically. And that is achieved through studying their development from the birth to an old age. So those specific studies of the human being throughout the spectrum of their life, they normally centered around infant time and childhood, but also they expand into adulthood, young adulthood, mature adulthood, aging as well. And take into consideration in-depth biological growth of the body, cognitive expansions, emotional maturity as well. And the difference here between Islamic perspective of developmental psychology would be that we take into consideration spirituality. There is absolutely no landmarks or milestones set in stone for spiritual development, because we're talking here about fitra. Everyone is born with fitra, but we also know from many hadith that fitra will be, let's say, quietened. It will be overshadowed by belief systems that parents are introducing to a child, right? So from our perspective in Islam, we are here incarnating as the souls in this body within the family of a blood relations. We are extracted from the family of the soul relations, our soulmates, and we are traveling here, trying to remember on the level of our fitra, where are we going to come back? And we coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. So Quran also talks about development on biological level. Let's have a think. Let's think about those stages of development, how we are created from the clot, then we become a fetus, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to those stages in Quran and says that why don't you take a consideration, why don't you think, why don't you contemplate on just mere that fact, because I am shaping you in the due proportions, in perfect proportion. Nobody else is proportioning you that way. Nobody else could think about it that way. So God mentioned this basic fact in a number of the verses, to underline his greatness, but also to help us to reflect from the perspective of developmental psychology that yes, we were born completely dependent not only on God but our primary carers, and then we're growing into stages of power in young adulthood, then late adulthood, and then we aging, if that is meant for us to age, and we growing again into complete dependency, but this time on youngsters. And Quran verse 71 says, what is the matter with you that you place not your hope for kindness and long suffering in God, seeing that it is He that has created you in diverse stages. So if you like, the developmental psychology in Islam is it gives us a platform for reflection, for tafakkur. Yeah. Now, the three goals of mainstream developmental psychology is to describe, explain, and optimize development for the human beings. So they engage in different type of longitudinal studies and normative, and they define normative development, but also pathological development, and they help parents to raise their children and develop their children. They also are in position to finger point to different patterns of changes in development. There are many theories, like Bandura came up with one as well, very popular. Nevertheless, there is also a conversation between nature and nurture in mainstream psychology. Famous studies about twins brought up by different families. Are they turning up to have the same character or not? Are they turning up to have the same aspirations for life or not? I'm sure you can follow it up in your own time. However, from Islamic perspective, we are thinking rather in terms of mizaj, meaning the temperament that we are born with. In Quran, we find that there are different forms. The Quran mentions many times that there are different forms of traits, characters, behaviors, and conduct that humans can adhere to. Let's look in Quran, Surah 17, verse 83. Everyone acts according to his own disposition, but your Lord knows best who is best guided on the way. So in a sense, that discussion, nature, nurture, nature, Quran says, yes, the social economics and the primary environments are really important for you. They are going to shape you. They are going to give you a better or worse start in life. However, what we're looking at, we as a royal, we for God, is whether you are following the guided path or not, whether you are developing yourself spiritually or not. Does it make sense? So so that is the ultimate perspective in Islamic psychology. And there are many examples in Sunnah when Prophet ﷺ himself was changing the way he had conversations with different people. So he would speak to men accordingly to their capacities to understand. He would choose different words, pace of his speech as well, even dialect. He ﷺ was able to do it. He would speak differently to female, to children, to men, to poor, to rich. And the Quran has also almost finger pointed to us that the gender is not the same and the age is not equal to another age. So in Surah Al-Imran, verse 36, we say, and the male is not like the female. And it doesn't have to be interpreted from the very fiery discussion about genderism. It could also be applied in this discussion about developmental psychology and individual differences. According to Ibn Kathir, he said God explains in Quran that he created disparities among his creatures on the level of wealth, on the level of intellect, understanding, and so forth, with the particular aim in mind. And that is to teach us ourselves differences between each other, to realize that we all have different purpose in this life, but ultimately what really matters in the eyes of God is our work, our acts, amal, our acts that we commit here. So there is that beautiful verse in Quran says, and we raise some of the mankind above others in ranks so that some might command work from others. That's verse 33, Surah 33, verse 32. Now, to close off this discussion about developmental psychology and perspective of Islam, I want to underline that whatever science has to offer nowadays is unquestionably useful and helpful in the process of self-growth or helping others to develop throughout different stages. However, Islamic perspective also takes into consideration the spiritual growth. Right, that's why we've discussed fitra, and that's why we also discussed those differences, those gender differences and age differences on this in this video. Well, I hope that was useful. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, AJS Therapy, or book a free consultation with me. That's also an option. The link is just there. I see you in next